Today is 1 week making this video. Seems like such a good idea, and every time I try I keep having such a difficult time. Exactly 1 week ago, I was in the hospital for the labor and delivery of my baby. We found out that the baby's heart had stopped, and we're scheduled to be induced on March 7th. My daughter, Charlotte, was born at 5:18 after 10 hours of labor. I went in for a doctor's appointment and it was a pretty quick one because they were able to determine that her heart had already stopped. So in that same appointment, we scheduled for me to be induced in 2 days. I went into the hospital at 5 a.m. and they took me back to labor and delivery, and at 6 a.m. started giving me medication to induce the labor. When I arrived to the hospital, I went by myself because it was so early in the morning and my husband had to stay with my 3 kids until my father could come to my house to take care of my children. Gracie was also sick at this time, so it just made things a little bit more difficult. And as soon as we got the kids to school and to daycare, my father got here, then my husband arrived at the hospital. By the time he had arrived, nothing had really progressed, and this was probably around 9 a.m. or so. So they started increasing the medication that they gave me, and that's when I started getting contractions. And I remember noticing how low my uterus was in comparison to all of my other labors. And I had already noticed that she wasn't moving anymore. I had stopped feeling her movements, and that was very different for me. Usually throughout labor, you can feel the baby kicking and moving around, and they put the monitor on your belly so that you can hear the baby's heartbeat the whole time and make sure that they're okay. And we didn't have that. For the 10 hours that I was in labor, didn't even turn on the TV or really do anything. My husband stood by my side the entire time, and he literally stood there holding my hand the whole time. He did not sit down. They gave me morphine for the pain. It wouldn't affect the baby. I wouldn't have to worry about it harming the baby. So I was able to take that because I didn't want to have to get an epidural and wanted to try to get home that night. And if I had the epidural, then I would have to wait for the block to wear off before they could release me. So I wanted to try to do the whole labor without it, because I wasn't anticipating the pain to be so bad. since she was so small. After the third dose of medicine was given to me, I needed to get up and go to the bathroom, and they let me at this time after several hours, and my water broke. And I remember I was so scared because I was not gonna have this baby on a toilet. As ridiculous as it sounds, and you hear women talking about it all the time, it was a very scary reality for me. So I had to call my husband, and he hurried and helped me back into the bed. And within an hour, she was born.
Seeking shelter in different corners, never finding a place to stay. Somehow ended up here on the ground. Brother, help me up.
She was so tiny. She came out in one push, and it was all over. And not getting to hear that cry was the hardest part. As soon as they gave her to me, the first thing that I noticed was how big the cystic hydromas were on her neck. We had only ever seen it on the ultrasound, and those can be so hard to look at if you don't really know what you're looking at, and I didn't want to believe that they were as big as they were. But it was over the whole back of her neck, almost to the front, around her throat. And it was wider than her head. So it was very, very big. She was so swollen. And she had another spot on the top of her head and a small spot on her back. So she had a lot of swelling. Every other detail was so perfect. It was amazing to get to see every tiny little fingernail, her toes, her mouth, her nose, everything was just so detailed and perfect. This whole pregnancy, we were kind of prepared for something to go wrong from the very start with the bleed, the hemorrhage that I had, and then finding out about the cystic hydroma. And I prayed so much, and I know that you guys prayed so much for us, and I'm so thankful for that. But after seeing her be born, I know that she would have been suffering so much if she was born with all of those problems. Nothing hurts worse than leaving the hospital, getting rolled out in the wheelchair through labor and delivery, through the waiting room, into your car without your newborn baby, having to leave her behind in a tiny box. I felt like such a bad mother, like I was leaving her alone without anybody to hold her. even though I knew that she was gone. I was okay the whole time that I was in the hospital because I was able to hold her. And I did not put her down for 1 minute. We still never told the kids about the baby. And so I really want to document all of this because one day I want them to be able to know about her and know how much we loved her, we wanted her. And one day we'll be able to tell them. But right now this is just what's going to be easiest for us. I really just want to thank you all so much for all of your support that I've received since she's been born, and all of your prayers and love. I appreciate it so much, and I'm trying to get back to everybody that I can, but needless to say, it's been a very difficult time right now. Thank you all so much for everything and for your support. I will be updating you guys as soon as I can.